Hi there, I'm Christine from Thrive Themes, and in this video I'll be showing you a method for customizing your website's typography that will save you tons of time and give you a better understanding of how Thrive Theme Builder works. If you've ever felt that styling your headings and fonts is tedious and time-consuming, then this should definitely help. Once you learn this method, you'll see that using Thrive Theme Builder to customize your website is really very easy and quite fast, and it allows you to have complete control over your website. So this method is called the outside-in principle. So here is what the outside-in principle states. When applying the same styling to multiple elements, apply the styling to the parent container of those elements, starting from the biggest container, working your way inwards to the smallest container. In general, smaller containers override larger ones. Now, before we dive into the actual principle, there is one thing that would be helpful for you to know, so let's go over that first. Every published web page on your website either uses a theme template or it doesn't. Pages that do not use a theme template are called standalone pages or landing pages. Pages and posts that use a theme template don't really have a special name, but every published page on your website has to fall into one of those two categories. So now, how do you know when to use a theme template and when not to? You would typically use a theme template for groups of pages or posts that you want to have the same basic page structure, meaning that they would have the same header, top section, sidebar, bottom section, and footer. But of course, the content for each page would be different. So let's take a look at the About page and the Contact page for this demo website. You can see that they have the same header, the same top section, bottom section, and footer, but the actual page content is unique to each page. So when you see a published page on a website that uses a template, it is actually a marriage of two components: the theme template and the page or post content. And you can edit your theme template by going to the Templates tab in Thrive Theme Builder, and you can edit the post or page content from the WordPress menu. So now, what about standalone pages? Standalone pages are typically used for one-off pages, things like your sales page or your lead generation page. Pages that will generally only appear once on your website, and you might want them to look structurally or stylistically different from everything else. The nice thing about standalone pages is that you can easily assign custom fonts just for that page, which is where the outside-in principle comes in. So if we look at a run-of-the-mill website, this is what you might have. We've got a home page, we've got an About, Contact, and Services page. We've got a blog feed, or you might call it a blog list or blog roll. And we've got some blog posts, and we have a sales page. Now remember, all of these pages must either be a standalone page or they need to be built using a template. So I've gone ahead and I've labeled those for you to give you an idea of which pages are in which category. The home page is a standalone page by default. The About, Contact, and Services pages all use a template just so that they have the same matching top sections. The blog list page or the blog feed page uses a list template. The blog posts, well, blog posts typically have the same structure as far as the title and the meta information, so we are using a template for those. And the sales page, well, sales pages are very different from the rest of the pages on the website, so we've used a standalone page for that. So I know this is kind of a lot to think about. The main thing to remember is that every page on your website either uses a theme template or it's a standalone page, which is also known as a landing page. Okay, so now that we've got that worked out, let's get into the outside-in principle. So if we look at the outside-in principle again, you might notice that the principle is based on containers, and you might be wondering what that means. So let's take a look. Again, we have a basic website, so we're using the outside-in principle mainly for fonts and colors, and most websites use the same fonts and colors for the majority of the site, and that's typically set by the WordPress theme. So the largest container to which we can apply style choices is the WordPress theme. So let's draw a container to represent the theme level. Next, as we've just seen, some of our pages use a theme template. So you can specify theme templates to use specific fonts and colors just for that template, and then those customizations will show up automatically on all posts or pages where the template has been assigned. So we can draw a container around those pages to represent the theme template used to create them. And then every post or page that uses a template has to have content, right? And within that content, you can use Thrive Architect to bring in things like background sections, content boxes, columns, and lots more. So if you want a specific section to stand out, then you can use a different font or color just for that section. So we can draw a container for specific sections. And then finally, let's say that you want an individual element within that section to be styled apart from everything else. Well, we can draw a tiny container around the individual element. And that's it. Those are all of the container levels for posts and pages that use a theme template. Now, but what about standalone pages? Don't worry, I'm not going to make you sit through all of that again. The container levels for standalone pages are basically the same, but instead of making customizations at the template level, you can make customizations at the standalone page level. And this is why we had to learn the difference between pages and posts that use templates and standalone pages. To use the outside-in principle, you have to either go down one route or the other. And you know, they really aren't all that different. You just have to know for each page that you're working on, does this page use a template or is it a standalone page? Because just knowing that will help you keep track of where the customizations are coming from. So in Thrive Theme Builder, you have the following container levels and you can apply customizations to each one. You have the theme level, you have the theme template level or the standalone page level. And then from there you can drop down to the section level and then finally the individual element level. Now, when it comes to using the outside-in principle, the idea is to start with the largest container and work your way in to the smallest one. So you would start at the theme level and then work your way down this list. And the benefit of doing that is that it'll really save you a lot of time because you won't have to click and customize every single text element on your page individually. Now, the second part of the outside-in principle states that smaller containers, generally speaking, will override the larger containers. So what that means is that customizations set at the individual element level will override what you have set at the section level. And so even if you set customizations at the individual element level and then go back up the ladder to the section level, the customizations that you already set will not change. All right, so let's look at how all of this works in Thrive Theme Builder, and let's start with the largest container, the theme level. So the place to set all of that up is in the typography tab in Thrive Theme Builder, and then you can click on the pencil icon down here in the lower right-hand corner to start editing. And now you can even use the outside-in principle to set up your default typography. Now we've already got the outermost container selected for us, and with that we can select all elements and then customize everything all at once using the typography tab on the left. Or you can select one container in to select groups of elements and then edit those. And of course you can select just one single element. And you do that by simply clicking anywhere inside of that box. Now, What's important to remember about making typography customizations here is that these are global defaults. So these are the default fonts that you'll use on your theme templates, your content for your blog posts and pages. And in fact, let me show you how that works. So I've got a demo blog post here. So this is what it looks like right now. Now, if I change the typography specifications in the typography tab, let's see how that affects our page. Actually, let me do the entire, I should have done the entire heading container first. But let's go ahead and select that. Let me save my work. And let's refresh this page. All right, so you can see that the headings have changed here for the most part, but there is one exception. The main heading color did not change, and that is actually by design. Our designers specified a color for this specific heading just so it would ensure that this heading would look good on all of our customers' pages. Because let's take a look really quickly at what this would look like with our bright purple color on this background. I'll switch to Thrive Theme Builder. Not so hot. So that is why our designers have tried to help you out. And there's also one other exception that you need to know about, and that is pre-built pages that do not use the Shapeshift theme have their own set of fonts. So let's take a look at one of those now. Okay, so if you choose the Shapeshift theme here, these landing pages will use the typography tab fonts. But if you choose a page from one of these other themes, you'll see that the fonts are already set to go with these specific pages. So there's one more thing that I need to show you about the theme level, and that is the text element floating bar. So the floating bar is what you would normally use to assign headings or maybe something like a block quote. What shows up here is what you've set in the typography tab in Thrive Theme Builder. So these are essentially linked. And what's really cool about the text element floating bar is that you can change your default fonts right from here, and you don't need to go back out to the typography tab if you're in the middle of building a page. So if you want to change, say, your H2 fonts, simply click on an H2 heading and then style it like you want. I'll change this back to black. And then you go back up here, navigate to heading 2, and then click Update Heading to match. And this will change all of your H2 fonts throughout your entire site. And if you were to go back out to the typography tab, you would see that it has changed there too. Now, what if you want to create a custom global typography style? You can do that from the floating bar as well. So let me type out a new heading. And the first thing you'll need to do is assign the default version, and that's just so that you have the right heading tag. So if I want this to be an H3, I will assign it an H3 heading. And then I'll go ahead and create my custom style. So I will change that to black and choose a completely different font. All right, so next you'll have to make sure that the right text is selected, and then I'll go up to the drop-down bar, go to Custom, and then Save as a new style. And there we go, we've got a custom H3 heading. And if we go back up here, you'll see that it does have the right H3 tag. So It's important to know that the custom styles are global, just like the default ones. So if you update your custom style, it will update everywhere that you used the custom style, just like the default ones. All right, so that was the theme level. I know it was kind of a lot, but the other levels aren't quite as involved as the theme level, so don't worry. We've already covered the bulk of what you need to know. So let's move on to the theme template level. Now, as you'll recall, theme templates are generally used to ensure that specific groups of pages have the same basic page structure. So what you have to remember is that when you're editing a theme template, it's generally just for setting up the header, the top section, sidebar, bottom section, and footer. The content on that page, you will edit that by going to the Posts or the Pages tab in WordPress. For theme templates, we'll go to the Thrive Theme Builder tab and then to the Templates tab. Okay, so let's go there now. Okay, so let's select our default post template. And let's say that I want to edit a font just for posts that use this page. And let's look at the title here. All right, so you'll notice that when I clicked on this, I clicked on the link text. That's not really what I want to edit, so I'll use the breadcrumbs to select the text element. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just make sure I've got the right element selected, and then I'm going to use my customizations over here on the left. And that is it. Once I've saved this customization, all of the posts that use this theme will automatically update. All right, next, the standalone page level. You are going to love the standalone page level because it is really easy to make typography changes. So when you create a new page, you have a few options, a few standalone page options, and no matter which option you choose, if you want to make page-wide typography changes, it's always going to be done the same way. So let's go ahead and just create a standalone page. All right, and I'll add a couple of blocks here. Okay, and to make typography changes just for this page, simply use the breadcrumbs to select the page settings at the top, and then go to the typography tab on the left and select Edit Landing Page Typography. And from here, this is going to look pretty familiar. You can use the outside-in principle again to select different groups of items and customize them all at once. So next up, the section level. So the section level is really handy, and it is where you will be able to see lots of time savings if you have lots of little things to customize on your page. So let's look at an example. Okay, so now at the section level, you can select a specific section and apply typography specifications to the section, and then everything inside of that section will take on that specification. So here we can select the background section like we have selected right now, or we can select this column or this group of list items, or we can select this content box. For right now, I'll select the column, and then I'm going to use the typography options on the left side of the page to style the entire section. So you might have noticed that the heading didn't change, and that is because the heading has been assigned a global default. So it's linked to what's listed in the text element floating bar and also what's in the typography tab in Thrive Theme Builder. If I want to change the heading to something specific but not global, I can select the heading and then change it using the typography options, and that would actually be an individual element level change. So I can do that, or I can create a custom style using the floating bar dropdown like we've done before. Just remember that these styles up here in the floating bar are global. And so that brings us to the final level, the individual element level. You can always style individual elements by simply selecting them and then using the typography options on the left. This will override anything that is set up at any other level. So I can select this, and boy, my page is starting to look kind of funny, but there we go. So that's it. So that is how you use the outside-in principle. Hopefully this helped you understand how things work in Thrive Theme Builder, and I hope that using this technique will save you lots of time as you build your website. Which, by the way, you do have Thrive Theme Builder, right? If you don't, be sure to go to thrivethemes.com/themebuilder because it really is awesome. As I've just shown you, with Thrive Theme Builder, you have control over every aspect of your website, and it really is very easy to build a beautiful website with consistent fonts, consistent colors, super important when you're trying to build a solid brand. So again, that's thrivethemes.com/themebuilder. All right, thanks for watching. Bye now.